Plundering, chapter 4. Now we're going to the Olympics. So, last chapter we know he turned his life around and he is a runner, a phenomenal runner. He finally makes the Olympics, all right, in the 5,000. So now he's on his way to Germany, where in 1939 you have the Berlin Olympics, and that's where you have, we're going to talk about this in class, Jesse Owens rocked the house, disproving the German ability. Hitler thought that basically in 1939 that the Germans would rock these Olympics, that they were the supreme race and that no one could beat them. But then the Americans came in and it was like, we rocked too. And like Jesse Owens and Louis and a couple other rowers from the novel The Boys in the Book came in and really rocked Germany and kind of gave them a slap in the face about not the superior race. And it kind of made Hitler upset. So it is Berlin Olympics 1939. And this starts, chapter 4 starts basically with Louis going to Germany. Plundering Germany. The ship bearing the Olympic team to Germany wasn't long at sea before Louis began stealing. Oh, he's back to stealing. In his defense, though, it wasn't he who started it. Self-conscious about being a teenaged upstart, he at first curbed his cultish impulses and began growing a mustache. But he soon noticed that practically everyone was souvenir collecting, if you know what I mean, stealing. The mustache was abandoned, and Louis joined the other light fingers in denuding the ship. So he wasn't the only one. Oh, there he is. That's his passport. Oh, Louis. On pitching seas, which means like goes up and down, training was chaotic. Basketball players did passing drills on deck, but the wind kept jetsoning the balls into the Atlantic like they were flying overboard. The water in the ship's pool sloshed back and forth violently, and big swells heaved the water and everyone in it onto the deck. So the coaches tied the swimmers to the wall. Gymnasts fell off their apparatuses. Fencers lurched all over the ship. Louis and the other runners trotted around, dodging deck chairs. In the high seas, they all staggered in one direction, then the other. Like if you've ever been on the Cape May ferry, it kind of goes back and forth, so they staggered too, the runners. For a poor kid accustomed to stale bread and milk for breakfast, the ship was paradise. Food and beverages were everywhere. In amazing abundance, Louis devoured everything. In the dining room, he plowed through anything that the seasick athletes couldn't stomach. Discovering a shot putter with a tiny appetite, he began sitting with him, dropping onto his plate like a vulture the moment the shot putter was full. On the first-class deck, he found a window in which pints of beer kept magically appearing. Honestly, he's an athlete. He made them magically disappear. One night, get this, Louis jotted down what he'd just eaten. All right, so let's go over this. 1 pint of pineapple juice, 2 bowls of beef broth, 2 sardine salads, sardines like those little fish that you find on pizza, 5 rolls, 2 tall glasses of milk, 4 small sweet potatoes, 2 plates of chicken, 2 helpings of sweet potatoes, 4 pieces of butter, 3 helpings of ice cream with wafers. I would do that. 3 chunks of angel fruit cake with white frosting. Ugh. 1.5 pound of cherries. Ugh. And 1 apple and, of course, 1 orange. I mean, why not? Biggest meal I ever ate in my life, he wrote. Where it all went, I have no idea. He soon found out where it all went. When the ship docked, a doctor weighed Louis. In 9 days, he gained 12 pounds. Well, it took 9 days to get from New York to Germany. So, he gained 12 pounds. Ugh. The Olympic Village was breathtaking. Nestled among forests and lakes were 140 beautiful cottages, a shopping mall, a barber shop, a post office, a dentist office, a sauna, training facilities, and dining halls. Now, this is Germany, 1939, and once you learn about Germany in 1939, you're like, oh my God. A new technology called television was on exhibit in 1939. Imported animals bounded over wooden trails. Someone wondered, where the storks were. The next day, 200 storks appeared. Louis and the other Olympians were driven through Berlin for the opening ceremonies. Adolf Hitler and his militaristic, ferociously anti-Semitic Nazi party were in power. Anti-Semitic means against Jews. And their presence was everywhere. Swastikas, which do not draw a swastika, we're going to talk about that, papered the city. Soldiers drilled, and military gliders swooped over oceans of uniformed kids called Hitler Youth. Gypsies and Jew students had vanished. We're going to talk about that. Had vanished? The Gypsies dumped into camps, and the Jews confined to the University of Berlin campus. The only visible sign of discord was the broken glass in the windows of Jewish businesses, which is called the Night of Broken Glass, Kristallnacht, which we're going to also talk about. Entering the Olympic Stadium, the athletes were treated to a thunderous show culminating in the release of 20,000 doves, like opening ceremonies, with the birds circling in panicked confusion. Cannons fired, prompting the startled birds to relieve themselves in a shower over the athletes. Louis stood at attention, shaking with laughter. Of course he did. As Louis prepared for his race, he knew he had not one shot at a medal. Way to be positive, Louis. It wasn't just that he was almost pudgy from idleness and overeating. Few nations dominated Olympic events as Finland did the 5,000. Finland, which is north on your map, Norway, like real next to Norway. Finn Lori Lehtonen, no, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say it like that. Finn Lori Lehtonen, the 1939 gold medalist, was back, along with his swift teammates Gunnar Hart and Ilmar Schlamen. Louis was too young and green to beat the Finns. His day would come, he believed, in the 1500 in 1940. An envelope arrived from Pete. Inside were 2 playing cards, a joker and an ace. On the joker, Pete had written, "Which are you going to be? The joker?" Which is another word for, I'm going to say, the horse's buttocks, or the tops. Ace of spades. Take your choice. On the ace, he'd written, "Let's see you storm through as the best in the deck." Good job. See, Pete's still inspiring him. On August 7th, Louis lay in the Olympic Stadium infield, readying himself for his race. 100,000 spectators in the ring of the track. Louis was terrified. He buried his face in the grass, inhaling deeply, trying to settle his nerves. When the time came, he walked to the starting line, bowed forward, and waited. At the sound of the gun, Louis's body, electric with nervous energy, wanted to bolt. But Louis made a conscious effort to relax. As the pace of the surge forward, he kept his stride short. Don Lash emerged with the lead. The 3 Finns behind him. Louis settled into the second tier of runners. Louis smelled a sickening odor, the hair pomade of a runner ahead. Ugh. Feeling nauseous, he slowed, letting the pomaded runner pull away. The laps wound by, and Louis kept losing ground. Lash and the Finns were slipping out of reach, and Louis wanted to go with them, but his body felt heavy. He slipped to 12th. 12th place, kids. That's his jersey, 751. There he is, 751, right back here. See him? Right back there. Ahead, the Finns settled into Lash, roughing him up. On the 8th lap, Salmon rammed his elbow into Lash's chest. Lash folded abruptly in evident pain. The Finns bounded away, little cheaters. They entered the 11th lap together, looking to sweep the medals. Then, for an instant, they stayed too close. Their legs tangled, and Salmon fell heavily to the track. His race, like Lash's, was lost. Louis saw none of it. He passed Lash, but it meant little. He was tired and so far behind. Then he found himself thinking of something. Pete once said, "A lifetime of glory is worth a moment of pain." Kids, that is a phenomenal quote. Think about it. A lifetime of glory is worth a moment of pain. So when you're out there and you just can't make it anymore, think about that one moment of pain for the entire glory of it all. Louis thought, let go. With one lap to go, Louis fixed his eyes on the gleaming head of the promenade runner far ahead. He began a dramatic acceleration. Around the turn and down the back street, Louis kicked his legs, reaching and pushing, his speed dazzling. One by one, runners came up ahead and faded behind him as Louis flew around the last bend. Hockert had already won. Louis wasn't watching him, though. He was chasing the glossy head, still distant. He heard a roar and realized the crowd was cheering for him. Even Hitler watched him. Louis ran, Pete's words beating into his head, his whole body burning. His shining hair was distant, then nearer. Then, so close that Louis began smelled the promenade. With the last of his strength, he threw himself over the line. Louis had clocked by far the fastest 5,000-meter run by an American in 1936. Yeah. After 12 seconds faster than Lash's best for the year, he just missed 7th place. That's okay. As he bent gasping over his spent legs, he marveled at the kick he'd forced from his body. It had felt very, very fast. 2 coaches hurried up, gasping at their stopwatches. In 1930s elite distance running, it was exceptionally rare for a man to run a last lap in 60 seconds. A lap in 60 seconds. Even at a mile. In the 5,000, well over 3 miles, a final lap in less than 70 seconds was astounding. Louis had run his last lap in 56 seconds. You try to run a lap in 56 seconds. If anybody wants to try it, let me know. I'll time you. After cleaning up, Louis climbed into the stands near Hitler's box. Someone pointed out a ghoulish man and said it was Joseph Goebbels. Oh, we're going to talk about Joseph Goebbels. I do not like Joseph Goebbels. He's just as bad as Hitler. Hitler's minister of propaganda, Louis, who knew nothing about the Nazis, had never heard of him. He carried his camera to Goebbels and asked if he'd snapped. He carried his camera to Goebbels and asked if he'd snap Hitler's picture. Goebbels asked his name and event, then took the camera, moved away, snapped the photo, and returned. Hitler, he said, wanted to see him. Oh, he's going to meet Adolf Hitler. Goebbels led Louis to Hitler. The Führer, that means the leader, bent from his box, smiled, and offered his hand. Louis had to reach far up. Their fingers barely touched. Hitler spoke. An interpreter translated. Ah, you're the boy with the fast finish. Itching to raise hell, Louis donned his Olympics dress, so he got to meet Hitler. Bizarre. Itching to raise hell, Louis donned his Olympic dress uniform and went out with a friend. All right. They proud bars sarcastically chirped "Hi Hitler" at everyone in uniform and stole everything they could pry loose. In an automat, they discovered German beer. By the time he finished his second liter, Louis was feeling very brave. Trolling around Berlin, they stopped at the Chancellery, the building housing Hitler's office. A car pulled up and out stepped Hitler, who walked inside. On the building, Louis spotted a Nazi flag that he thought would make a swell souvenir. The banner didn't carry much symbolic meaning for him, or many other Americans at that point in 1936. Little did they know. Louis just had a hankering to steal in his head and 2 persuasive liters of beer in his belly. Watching the guards pacing before the Chancellery, Louis noted that on each pass there was a point at which both had their backs to the flag. As they turned, Louis ran to the flag and began jumping, trying to grab it. The guard spotted him. Louis took a last leap, snagged the flag's edge, and fell, tearing the banner down with him. He scrambled to his feet and ran like mad. He heard a crack. Looking back, he saw a guard running at him, his gun pointed up, yelling, "Halt! Halton! Halton!" Louis stopped. The guard spun around, saw his Olympic uniform, hesitated, and asked Louis his name. The one thing Louis knew about Nazis was that they were anti-Semitic, so he gave his name in an exaggerated Italian fashion. The guard summoned an official, who asked Louis why he stole the flag. Louis, laying it on thick, said he wanted a souvenir of the happy time he had in beautiful Germany. The Germans gave him the flag and let him go. There he is, with the German soldier. When the press heard of Louis's adventure, reporters took creative liberties. Louis had stormed Hitler's palace to steal the flag in a hail of bullets. Fake media right there. Plunging 18 feet, he'd raced away, pursued by 2 columns of guards who tackled and beat him. Just as a rifle butt had been about to crush Louis's head, the German army commander-in-chief had halted the attack, and Louis had talked the general into sparing his life. In one version, Hitler himself allowed him to keep the flag. This is all fake media right here. Louis had done it all. Went to win the heart of a girl. When Louis arrived in Torrance, he was plunked on a throne and paraded downtown, where, imagine that, where 4,000 people were whipped up by a band, sirens and whistles, cheered. Louis shook his hands and grinned. I didn't only start too slow, he joked. I ran too slow. As he settled into home, he thought of life in the future. Running the 1936 Olympic 5,000 at 19 on 4 races, experience it had been a shot at the moon. Like, who does that? Running the 1940 Olympic 1500 at 23 after years of training would be another matter. The same thought was circling Pete's mind. Louis could win gold in 1940. Officials had just announced which city would host 1940 games, everybody. Louis shaped his dreams around Tokyo, Japan. So the Olympics in Berlin in 1939, he got 7th. Good job for only running that race 4 times. But he was looking at winning gold in 1940 in Japan. However, in 1939, the war is going to start. There will be no Olympics in Tokyo in 1940.